Hey guys, welcome. I am Randy, aka Elaine Dilyn, and this is Dilyn's Dive Bar. So we want to welcome our special guest, Jenaiya Coleman, and we today are going to tackle the big word therapy. And I asked a question last week asking if that word scared you, and surprisingly, a lot of you said yes. So we're going to talk today about why that word seems to scare so many people and why we think it shouldn't, because we want to help you figure out how to get over that fear. But first things first, let's talk about the dive bar. So, the dive bar, we are here for community, we are here for cocktails and conversation. So, we are going to get into the cocktails part a little later. So, I know some of you saw the videos, it's coming. I promise you, because we're both ready for our tequila soda. So, it's definitely coming. So, just a few things to introduce the dive bar. A couple of things that we're going to do is we're going to take a deep dive into some important topics. But first, we're going to do what I like to call quick dips. So, these are kind of like my quick opinions about certain things. And since you're sitting next to me, we're going to get your opinion on them as well. So, first thing first, semantics, talking about language, the words we use and how they impact. So, the first thing is the word tolerance. I am not a big fan of the word tolerance. I'm not a fan of teaching tolerance because I feel like the root of tolerance is to tolerate. And when you teach your kids or you teach people to have tolerance of people that are different from them, it feels like you're teaching them to tolerate them. So basically, if I didn't have to deal with you, I wouldn't. But since you here, I guess I'll have to work on it. And I think that is a big reason diversity is such a hard thing for people to tackle, because we're teaching tolerance. And a lot of people feel like they're forced to deal with people who are different than instead of embracing being around people who are different from them. So I feel we should, teach acceptance and respect and figuring out a way to explore those differences in a positive way versus saying tolerance. So what are your thoughts?
I would not agree. I mean, I couldn't agree more. The way that you even just put that, as far as having to basically tolerate someone, it totally makes sense.
Right.
Wow, I'm sorry, I'm just taking that in.
So it is.
Yeah, I've never even heard anybody even dissect it that way.
Yeah.
And to say, that is teaching well, I would say specifically children, in a sense, to tolerate certain people, rather than, like you said, embrace them.
Yeah.
Like as an adult, you do grow up and you find yourself in different circumstances and situations where, like you said, if I didn't want to mess with you, I shouldn't have to mess with you. I shouldn't have to tolerate you.
Right.
So rather putting it in the just in so many words, like you said, to embrace someone sounds so much better than just tolerating them.
Exactly. So that's just, our quick moment with the word tolerance. So I would love for people to just change the way that they introduce that, because diversity is a beautiful thing. And I think with us living in a country where a lot of people come here to get a certain experience, the American dream and things like that, they're coming from different cultures, different backgrounds. And I just think it would be way more productive and a lot more enhancing of each of us if we looked at acceptance and embracing versus tolerance. Yeah. So I'm not a big fan of that word. Yeah. So our second quick tip.
Okay.
So I love when people go online and they show love for their spouse or their significant other. So I'm like a nerd for love. Like I'm a closeted romantic. Like I always tell people when they're being mushy, I'll be like, "Oh, you're so gross, being mushy." But in like inside, I'm like, "Oh, that's so cute." Like I think of my brother and his wife. They are the mushiest couple I've ever seen in my life, but I love every moment of it. Seeing him being loved on by her is so great because he's my baby brother. Okay. And it's like, I love him. And I want, you want your siblings to find somebody that loves them like you love them. And he definitely has. And so whenever I'm like online and I see people like shout out their wife or like shout out, I'm like double tap. And I don't even know them. They could be complete strangers, y'all. Like as soon as I see somebody, they'd be like, she said yes. I'm like, oh, what's the story? Yes. I don't know these people. Like, and when I say I don't know these people, y'all, I don't know none of these people. But I just be like, ooh,
I'm eager to see where this is going. That's why I keep smiling like that.
Yes.
I'm so eager to see where this is going.
So there is a video that I caught. It was a reel on Instagram. These wives, they did an appreciation dinner for their husbands.
Shut.
Yes. See, it's not just me. Not just me. Yo, it's her too. They have their husbands in matching shirts. They had no idea that they were coming to this restaurant for this appreciation dinner, and so they show up with all of these shirts on. They looking at each other like, what? But then they had these huge gift baskets from their wives. They had like their favorite things in there. And number one, I don't see enough love on your husband posts.
I can agree.
We always say happy wife, happy life, that kind of stuff. But to see them loving on their husbands. And one of the things I've learned from watching my brother, he said, men need that too.
Yeah.
We need somebody. We want our women to flirt with us. We want them to compliment us. And it's so funny because she'll be like, his wife will be like, oh, your brother just got a haircut. He looks so good. And I'll be like,
I'm not mad at that.
I'll be like, ma'am, that's my brother. You can't talk to me about how sexy my brother look. He look all right. Okay. But on the inside, I'm like, oh, she loves him. Yay. We have a clip of the video. So let's go ahead and show the clip of the video because it was
so cute. It was sweet. Okay. I thought we were going somewhere else. But okay. It was sweet. It was sweet.
Super cute. I think we have it. Do we have a video?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay, so I'll post it on the page, y'all. So follow me on IG so y'all can see the video because it's super cute. But that's our quick tip. Appreciating people when you have them. Like everybody wants to say all this nice stuff when you land, 6 feet before the Lord. They can't really hear you and they can't appreciate what you're saying. So I love seeing those kind of posts where people show appreciation for the people that they love because it's important to do that for the people that you love. They need to hear from you how much you love them. And a lot of times people say, they put it in a card and it's just between them. But then like in public, it's like you should tell them in public. In front of people.
See, that was where I thought we were kind of going.
Well, go there. You can go there.
My opinion on that is slightly different.
Okay.
So I'm not the type of person that will post my significant other and all that on social media.
Right.
Like I could be dating somebody for over a year, 2 years, and people would never know. Like there's been times where my family don't even know that I'm dating somebody because I'm not close enough. And that's not to say like my close friends, I'm not hiding. I'm not gonna say I'm hiding.
We're in a TV show. I'm in a secret relationship.
Not in a secret. I'm not gonna say a secret relationship. But most people will never, pretty much never know.
Wow.
Because, people are nosy.
They are.
And messy. So that's my reason. Now, that's not to say that I have no issue with showing like public display of affection.
Yeah.
Just not social media display of affection.
Heard. Okay. So you still tell them out loud and show them and express it of you, but you ain't looking for the double tap. Heard and heard.
Okay. Because if it don't work out, I don't have time to be deleting and all that. Like, we're not doing that. Okay. And they might not know until I'm married. And we might not even post it. I'm just saying.
She gonna come up with a whole marriage show us a happy 5-year anniversary.
That part. Where did it come from?
Just saying. So Jenaiya believes in publicly, not on social media. Heard. Okay. So what y'all think about our quick dips? Okay. Do you do the big post all over social media, or are you more like Jenaiya, like, look, if you know, you know. If you don't know, then you don't need to know, and you're not gonna see it on social media. So where do y'all fall in on the showing your relationship? Now, I myself am a private person, so I do get what you're saying. Yeah. I think it was maybe like 2 relationships that have hit my social media over the years, and they are years apart. But it's like, because he came for my birthday, and he was in the picture. And everybody was like, who is that?
So even with that, so
mind your business.
So like even with social media and all of that, like with my friends, if we go out and my significant other is there, I'm like, don't post that. Like I do.
She said don't post nothing.
And if you catch a glimpse, it's like, is he not? Like then you can go down that rabbit hole if you choose to.
Trying to find pictures.
I'm not gonna confirm nor deny. Just
Heard
saying.
and heard. All right, all
We
right.
got a
So,
few comments here.
okay.
Okay.
Jade Greenhill says, I'm posting my love. I'm a sap.
Oh,
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Do you?
You have Star Crosby. Did, but don't anymore. As much people lurk into too much, basically. They lurk too much.
absolutely.
And that's kind of been my experience.
Yeah.
So, like with a past relationship, he posted me
Excuse me, Star
on an
Cosby.
anniversary kind of thing, and then I was like, then I felt compelled, like, is this what we doing? And dang,
All right, we got another one.
and then I did it.
Got Veta May says PDA, no PSA.
Oh, ooh,
Mm.
ooh, I like that.
Okay.
I
I
like
believe
that.
it's,
Cut
and
the
forgive me
camera
if
off.
the name I pronounce is wrong. Keona Barrett. I like the post, but I keep it to a minimum.
Okay.
Okay. And so we have everybody probably kind of on the spectrum.
Yeah.
So I think if I would probably want like in a mushy relationship, I probably would. Because that's how the other two actually got posted. Like
Okay.
we were like super affectionate and super mushy. So it was kind of like, let's take a picture together.
Okay.
But I'm not. It depends. It depends on where we at. It depends on where we at.
Like, even in that last relationship, like we posted each other, and then I was like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, friend request. Here they come. Why are you requesting him?
Right.
You don't know him.
Right.
Like, why? And then he's like, do you know who this person is? Yes, I know who they all are. Do not accept. Like,
Right.
it's just being nosy at this point. You know what I'm saying?
Why
Like,
you need to be friends with my person on social media? You friends with me? That's enough. I see your point.
And you know, and it's not to cause any friction or jealousy or any of those things, but most of the time it's really just to be nosy. Because if we're posting a picture of one another and it's public, why you need to see more? Like,
Right. What you
what exactly?
I see your point.
Touche. I'm just saying. Now when we're 10 years in, that's a different story.
Right. 10 years in, we ain't worried about you.
That's a different story.
Absolutely. Okay, so that was our quick dip. So they may end up being deep dive topics later on in the season, but for right now, those are just quick dips. Now, I do want to do a restaurant shout out because this is the dive bar. And for those of you who don't know, I've been in hospitality since I was 17 years old. It was literally my first job. I was a hostess, and when I tell y'all that was the most boring job ever. Okay, I was like, oh my God, you're boring me to tears. Find me something else to do. So they made me a food runner. When I turned 18, they made me a server. And I've been kind of hooked on instant money ever since. So ever since then, I've just been in hospitality. So now, as a hospitality mentor, I get a chance to meet different people who are opening restaurants and things like that. And my restaurant shout out for tonight is Sior ATL. Sior ATL is a brand new restaurant. They just opened in May, and I got the pleasure of being a part of their opening and getting to see them from the beginning. That, oh my God, the food is amazing. They don't fry anything.
Oh wow.
And they still have some of the crispiest wings I've ever had in my entire life. And they put gold flakes on them. Like when I tell you Sior ATL is for the inner regime,
Come on
bougie,
now.
and all of us. Okay. I love it. So the motto is Sior ATL, feed your mind, body, and soul. So you go in, you have this beautiful restaurant, but they also have a beauty bar like in the back. So you can go get your hair done. Then they have conference rooms where you can hold meetings. They do business brunches and everything. Like the food, when I tell you top notch, y'all, it is amazing. So please go. It's in Marietta, Sior ATL. Definitely check them out. My favorite drink is the strawberry champagne margarita. It's life. All of that I just said. If you like, girl, tequila, strawberry, champagne in one glass. Why not? Exactly. Why not? Like, why would you not want that?
Yeah.
And the way they do everything is just so over the top. But it's one of those things where you just feel like, I deserve this. Like, you feel like if you've ever been to Vegas and you know how some of the Vegas restaurants just go overboard, that's what the RTL is like. It's one of these just totally out of the box experiences. So y'all should definitely go. You should get the strawberry champagne margarita, and you should definitely try their lamb chops and waffles. Y'all, you need it. You need it. Okay, need it. Tell them Randy sent you, because I love them. Like I wish them all the success. So your ATL, There's the address. Y'all go check them out. I'm telling you, it's amazing. You will not be disappointed. Whether you get one of the drinks, whether you get shots, whether you food, appetizers, all of it. I'm telling y'all are gonna love it. So that's our restaurant shout out. Awesome. Sounds delicious. So since we are getting into our deep dive, we have a poll question, and I want y'all to answer in the comments. The question is, are you willing to try therapy? Yes or no? So definitely,
yes.
We are definitely advocates for therapy, so we're gonna do a resounding yes. But we want to hear y'all. And if you're nervous about it, we definitely want you to put why you are nervous about it, because we do want to address all of the reasons why people are nervous. While I was doing like a little research on the topic, one of the reasons people don't want to do therapy is because they associate therapy with being crazy. Like they don't hear therapy, they hear crazy. Mm-hmm. And you're not crazy for doing therapy. Okay? I think therapy is what prevents you from going crazy. And and the funny thing is, like, I know religion plays a part in it with some people. I'll never forget this. I was in college and I did a session with the therapist on campus. And so one of my uncles, he's my mom's uncle, my great uncle, he was like, "Girl, what you doing in therapy? We got Jesus." And
listen,
and I could not stop laughing because I'm like, he meant that with his whole heart. He meant that. We got Jesus. And I'm like, and I love him. I do. However, I need a flesh and blood human being that I can talk to. And it just, that has stayed in my head. It just cracks me up every single time. Because he was so,
that's how it is. That's exactly how it is. Because it's funny that you said that, because that was my experience as well. My first therapy session was also in college. And when I told my mom, "You don't need no therapy," just like you need Jesus. Like,
can I have Jesus therapy? Can I have both? Can we have both? Please. Does it have to be either or?
Because when I be needing Jesus to talk back, you know, okay,
you don't, unless he talking through the preacher, and I may not want the preacher to know I'm a business. So look, and some of y'all don't know, my preacher is my daddy. Okay, he's been my pastor my whole life. Now, don't get me wrong, my dad has worn so many hats in my life, and love him, love you, daddy. But it's some topics I'm not talking to my daddy about, because it's just weird. Because I mean, like with me and my dad, we very much have the daddy-daughter relationship. So we never gotten to the point where we're like, oh, we're just friends, so we can talk like buddy. Yeah, we never got there. Because as far as he's concerned, I'm his little girl. And frankly, I like it that way. I like being his little girl.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So there's some adult topics. Yeah, it's some adult topics that don't fit in little girl land. That stay in a child's place. Yeah. Can't talk to daddy about that. So we're going to get a therapist, because now I can be free to talk about what I need to talk about without being like, well, okay, how can I put this? We ain't got confidence. Yeah. Trying to get healed.
I need to be. You have an absolutely here from Shannon House. She says absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Do therapy.
Yes. I love it. All right. So y'all, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we get back, we're going to meet more. We're going to find out more about this lovely young lady that is next to me. We're excited. And we're going to make cocktails. Yes. I know. It's like we're at the bar and we have no drinks. So the bar is open for business. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break. Guys, we'll be right back. Stay tuned. There is more. Yeah.
When it's time to celebrate a milestone, do it in style. Posh Event Center can design a party to turn 40, 50, 60, and beyond with a theme or other unique event decor.
just so you know, that Posh Event Center, that's where we're holding the dive bar tonight. So shout out to Ms. Vontressa Brown and the Posh Event Space family. It's one of the places all that jazz does come through. So we want to thank her for letting us do the dive bar episode here. Shout out to Posh. Now today we are doing tequila soda. Okay.
Before you get going, we have a couple more responses that you had from earlier.
Oh, okay. Talk to us.
So Star says, shout out. Absolutely. We have been shamed into thinking its therapy is bad for crazy people. Also conditioned to keep everything inside, which can cause the crazy. Trees. I guess that's somebody. My first therapy session, this is coming from Natalie. My first therapy session was after I had a mental breakdown in front of my children.
Wow. So I can't skip over that.
I know.
I can't. Okay. Yeah. So number one, that is, the first one, us being shamed about, going to therapy is true. So many times people will hide that they're in therapy. A lot of times they'll be like, oh, I gotta go, run some errands.
Yeah.
And they don't tell people they're in therapy because sometimes people say some of the goofiest things. And it's like, before you open your mouth, please understand that it takes a lot of courage to go and speak to someone.
Absolutely.
Number one. And then to have someone make fun of you for it later. That was like the whole reason you didn't want to tell anybody that you were doing therapy. So we as a community have definitely got to get out of thinking that, we don't need someone to talk to. With everything that goes on in this world, especially with us as a people, Black and brown people, we go through a lot of trauma. And we are, whether we realize it or not, we're like constantly traumatized. Like, you go on your social media page and you see someone that looks like you get gunned down. You see someone that looks like you get attacked by a police dog. You see someone that looks like you getting blamed for doing something just because they look like you. That in itself, it can be traumatic. And so I think that's something like you need somebody to talk to on a daily basis as far as like what you see every day. Then you have your own personal situation that happened. I remember when that whole thing with George Floyd was happening.
I was just about to say that.
Working with people that don't look like us, who did not understand what we were going through, and hearing them make jokes and make light of it, it was a struggle to go to work and be around them and not be angry. Like, it was a couple of times I was delivering pizzas for Domino's. And I was like, please let me help them get an order, because I got to get out of here. Because if I stay in here one more time and listen to someone say, oh, well, I need a TV, maybe I'll just go down there where they're protesting and grab one. Really? Okay, that's what we're doing? And I'm like, do you not see me?
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where it's like, really?
Yeah. And I feel like since that happened, and I hate that it happened, first of all, but I feel like since COVID and then that happening, a lot more people have been open to going to therapy. And me personally, I didn't watch that video because, of course, I've experienced a lot of trauma in my life, and I knew that was going to traumatize me. Like, I knew it.
Yeah.
And then when I finally did see it, which was like a year later, it did just that. I bawled as if he was my child.
Yeah.
I mean, sobbing.
Yeah.
For hours.
Because you see him and it's like, that could be my uncle. That could be. I always think, I look at the men in my family and I love them to people, and when I look at them, I see amazing Black men. I look at my nephews and I'm like, look at these young Black men. Like, my youngest nephew is just turned 1. And I'm like, I look at him and I see all this possibility. And it boggles the mind that somebody could look at him and see him as anything other than a precious baby. I look at my 6-year-old nephew and I'm like, look at him exploring life and learning. And how could anyone see him and see something other than this amazing child? But they do.
Yeah.
And that in itself can be traumatizing. I think about, who my dad is and how he's tried to put so much good out into the world, being a minister, building up the community. And for someone to see him as a threat when he's one of, that's his thing, is being positive.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me. And it's like, that alone, that fear every day, living with that, like, until I lay eyes on them, until I hear their voices, until I know they're okay, I'm constantly like.
And it can feel like a burden to a lot of Black men. It can definitely feel like a burden to have us constantly worry about you, constantly Like if you don't answer the phone and it's nighttime, did you make it home? Did you get pulled over? Did something happen to you? Because that is our reality as well. So yeah, that's I think about that all the time. I think that's my biggest fear. I have a 13-year-old son, and that's my biggest fear. When I think about him getting older, of course it's a blessing, but at the same time I get so fearful that I won't be able to have him in my grasp every single day. And of course, even now I don't, but just to know that he'll be out in the world and the way that he can be treated just because he's Black.
Yeah.
That is scary. That is traumatizing. That is scary.
It is. And there's it's so funny because for those who don't know, Coke, first lady of iAmWoe podcast, that's my best friend. Her son is my godson. And when I look at him, I mean, from the moment she said I'm pregnant, I was like, we having a baby. I was so excited. And from the moment he was born, it was like, look at him. Oh, I just love him to pieces. And he gets older and older and older. And, now he's 16, God help us. And he wants all this independence. And she's like, where are you? Where's your location? Turn on. And he's looking at her like, Mom. Right. And we like, bro, you don't understand. Like, we live with that. Where is he? It's okay. We laid eyes on him. We're good. Until we lay eyes on him, we're like nervous. Yeah,
I'm low-key helicopter mom. I have my son's location. I be looking like, okay, I should be right now. I'm sorry, but it's scary, and it's for their safety.
Yeah.
Innocent, but at the same time, I can understand how it can seem like you are a helicopter mom. Like, dang, leave me alone. But at the same time,
you need that peace of mind.
It is very, very traumatizing. But touching on the second comment,
having the breakdown in front of your kids.
Yes,
my goodness,
that's heavy. That is very, very, very heavy. That's a lot to even have dealt with. Only because, for one, having a breakdown like that in front of your children. And typically, of course, when we have breakdowns, you're not yourself, right? Obviously. Right. So to think about even looking back at that and knowing that you're not yourself and your children experiencing another side of you, and depending on what age they are, they may not understand, what's going on. That's scary. That's traumatizing in itself. Yeah. And for you to take that step to go to therapy after that, like, I applaud you. Because a lot of people wouldn't. They would deal with it in silence. And then even with that for their children, that would be traumatizing for them and something that they may potentially remember for the rest of their lives. Yeah. And if that's not talked about, discussed, that's a whole different situation in itself. Yeah.
Whole other monster. And I think when as a child, because I don't have kids, but as an adult in children's lives, we are always trying to be conscious about the example that we're setting. And we're always conscious about what we do in front of them. So to have a breakdown in front of them and lose that kind of sense of control, that, I mean, now you're feeling guilty and embarrassed. And then it's like, now we have to have another conversation. We have to talk about what happened. And now they have to ask questions. And depending on what led up to it, those may be subject matters depending on their age that they're not ready to talk about. I mean, it's a lot. So I hope, that the therapist took the opportunity to help you, talk about that with them, because they can't unsee it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I applaud you as well for going, because so many people will try to be like, it never happened. Sweep it under the rug. If we don't talk about it, it never happened. We don't have to deal with it. And then it's like this lump under the rug that we trip over.
And this is one thing that I always say, because of course, with a lot of us Black people, let's just call a thing. Growing up, that's what we were taught. Yeah. What happens in this house stays in this house, and you don't address a lot of issues, and you do sweep them in front of the rug. But that rug continues to pile and pile and pile and pile and pile. And like you said, you trip over it. So I always say, you pull that rug up, you sweep everything from out that rug, and you throw that rug away. Okay? And that's how we start to break those generational curses. That's a whole nother story too.
You got a few more. So Natalie did say they were 2 at the time when she had the breakdown. You have Miss Deonza Heath here. She says, hello, ladies. Sorry I'm late. But therapy has been my saving grace. When my children were little, my breakdowns would be in the shower. I turn on my music and have my moments.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've had a couple of those. For a lot of people that don't know, in 2014, I lost a daughter. I was pregnant and she was born early. And I was scared to cry.
Really?
I was scared to cry because I was scared that I would not stop crying. And so I forced myself to get out of bed every day. So I was like, the one day I don't get out of bed, it's going to start a pattern. So that I'm not getting out of bed. Not happening. I'm not going to stay in bed. I'm not going to stay in bed. So I would get out of bed and I would just, I'm okay. I'm okay. And I would tell everybody I'm okay. Because I didn't want everybody else to be like hovering and then want to talk about it. Because I was like, I don't want to talk about it. And I had a lot of breakdowns in the shower. That was my therapy room. Yeah. And sometimes I wasn't even in the shower. I was just in the bathroom. Yeah. Because I'm like, nobody's coming in here with me. So we're going to come in here, close the door, and cry. And it took a minute for me to stop hiding my pain because my family was worried about me. I mean, how could you not be? But it's like, I didn't want them to worry, which made them worry more. So I'm hiding and they're trying to be like, are you okay? Yeah. How are you? And it's like, I'm fine. Tiptoeing. Yeah. Until it was finally like, having the breakdown moment. Like I was scared to pray. I was.
Were you mad at
God? I was mad at him and I was afraid to tell him I was mad at him because I was like, he's going to turn me into a pillar of salt. So I'm not going to tell the Lord I'm angry at him. But I was.
That's why I'm laughing.
But I was. And I mean, it took a minute for me to pray. It took a minute for me to cry. And I ended up doing all of it at once. And it was super helpful. But it took a minute because I was scared. I was scared that I would be so overtaken by the grief and the sadness that I was like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. And it took a minute for all of it to, me being able to even work through, like, face it.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it.
That's tough. That's tough. And you saying that, when I was I think I was going to the 6th grade. I lost 3 friends in a really, really traumatic car accident. And I was the same way. I isolated myself. But even back then, of course, that was in the 90s. Me and my mom, we literally just had this conversation. They didn't give us any grief counseling because I was supposed to go on that trip. Yeah, so it was like these layers. Oh my God, for years. Which is how I got into dance. But yeah, we didn't have anyone to sit us down and say, hey, how are you guys feeling? Like any of those things. So that was when I was going to the 7th grade. But I just completely shut down. When I was in middle school, I was like pretty quiet for the most part. Dance was my outlet, but that was why. And when you say mad at God, I mean mad. Like big mad. And my mom used to make me still go to church. I'm like, don't nobody want to go to his church. Yes. He did this. Right. And it's like he could have stopped it. Yeah. Especially when they start talking about these miracles and these people coming back and all of a sudden you're like, and why am I grieving people? Like it's I get it.
That religion thing, y'all. It's deep. Yeah. So while we're talking about, we're gonna continue our talk about therapy, but it is time to get cocktails. Yes, we need a drink. So because we're doing tequila soda on the page, I did put a couple of other options for you guys with tequila as your main liquor. So we have a Paloma that is tequila with grapefruit juice, little lime juice, and club soda. That's one of my favorites. And then we have a Mexican Mule, which has tequila and ginger beer, which is really good. And if you like ginger beer, that is like, you don't like ginger beer? Oh my gosh, she ain't had the right one, y'all. So they also have one I found today, which I had to put up. This called the Mystic Marvel, and it had prickly pear puree with tequila, and I was like, absolutely. So yeah, I might have to do that because it was pretty too, and I'm like, I've never had prickly pear anything, so why not? Yeah. So because it's a tequila kind of night, we do have our tequilas back here. I don't know if y'all can see them, but we have just a couple of my favorites. These are ones that I like. We got the Don. You gotta have Don Julio. We have a little 1800 Añejo, and then we have this Identity Tequila. It's a Blanco, but the bottle is so bomb because I'm gonna bring it up here. This bottle is so bomb. It has a fingerprint on there, and I was just like, the moment I saw it, I was like, oh. So that's the only reason why the tequila got bought was because of the bottle. And then this one is Padres. Now, Padres, you gotta roll your R's. Got roll your Padres. This is the Blanco. but they have a reposado and an añejo. So when you're dealing with tequila, y'all, as the bartender, I got to tell y'all a little something about it. When you're dealing with tequila, you got your blanco. That's the one that's not aged. Okay, this is kind of like entry level into your tequila. Then you have your reposado. Okay, and that's aged anywhere from 2 months to a year. It does have a little different color to it. And then you have your añejo. That's aged anywhere from 1 to 3 years. Typically, your reposados and añejos are brown tequilas, but every now and then you'll get one that's clear, like the 1800 añejo. It's clear. This is the blanco. This bottle is one of the reasons I even tried the tequila, because this is a leather outside, and it's laced up on the back. And then you have this bottle with skull on it. This is a badass bottle, y'all. Like, it's a badass bottle. And then the reposado is like, this part is yellow, and then the añejo, this part is orange. Like, it's a badass bottle, but it's a great tequila. This is one of the few tequilas I actually would drink the blanco. I like aged tequila. I'm a little bougie with mine. So if we ever go out drinking, bring your coins. Because your girl don't do $2 shots. That's not what we're doing. So
real quick, before we go too deep, Ms. J. Green said, I have tried it and it was life-changing. Looking for a new therapist now to continue the journey.
I love that. And you know what? It can be life-changing. If you do the work, it can be. Oh, we got another one.
Cortland Solomon, excuse me. I love that because it's definitely hard to say out loud you're mad at God.
Y'all, when I tell you I struggle with that.
I mean, and like I said, I can totally understand why, but at the same time, that is, this is why I think a lot of our generation, we're starting to kind of move away from the whole religion thing, because it in some instances, it doesn't make you feel like you can just be without, everything is a sin and you going to bust hell wide open. Right. And it's just like, but I'm human.
Yeah.
I'm human.
I'm going to tell you what helped me. So, y'all know, I told you my daddy's my dad. So, one of the sermons he put, he said in his sermons, he said, give God your whatever, because he can handle it. He was like, whatever, if you're angry, if you're sad, if you're confused, give it to him, because whatever it is, he can handle it. Because it's a light thing to him. To us, it's heavy because it's bigger than us.
Yeah.
But give it to him because it's a light thing. That's what helped me work through that, because I was scared, y'all. I was like, as soon as I say, I'm mad at I'm like, yes, I'm like, I'm gone. Like, and then my parents come home and be like, what happened?
Yeah.
And I was nervous. I was like, I don't want to be that person that, risks my whole relationship and our salvation because of this moment. And it blocked a lot.
You know what? Even in that though, if you think about it, we haven't had the example to say of our older generation for them to say it is okay for you to feel this way towards God when you have a human feeling or a human experience or trauma. And most of them is because, it was, in a sense,
taught to them.
And so they don't know anything any different. So I feel like with our generation, I feel like we're also teaching them that it is okay to feel.
Yes.
Like, that is normal to feel.
Think it's our age group. When you look at the ones that are between 30 and 45, it's our age group that's been the bridge between the older generation and the younger generation, where we started to question things.
Yep.
And we started to push the envelope, and we started to be like, no, we need to really explore. Because like, one thing I learned from my dad does a lot of research when he's preparing his sermons, and he came from an era where they would go strictly by the Bible. They didn't use any other outside material, so there was no critical thinking involved. And so he now, he would tell us, check this, look at this, and he brings in other sources and commentaries, which made us think and made us challenge things. And I think that's one thing that we should definitely continue to do, because we haven't even begun to tap the surface of what our relationship with God can be until we can start really exploring all those emotions. Anger is an emotion that was given to us. It's all in what we do with the anger.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things I think that's the lesson a lot of people haven't been taught. Anger is an emotion. It's what you do with it that matters. It's not that you have it and that's wrong. It's what do you do with it. So that's definitely, y'all, that's real life.
Yeah,
that is real life. All right. So in this real life, You need a little assistance every now and then. What we got? Well, what's that?
So DeAndre, he says, "Oh, so we being transparent.
Absolutely.
Therapy helped me to burn my quote unquote get back list."
Ooh.
What a drink at?
Okay. You know what? We gonna toast to that, D. We are. We gonna toast to that. Okay.
Wow. That is good and deep. And I've never heard that before.
Now let me tell you something about revenge, y'all. It does not help anybody, including and especially you. And I think that is something that because one, we want all this closure.
Yeah.
You know, we had all these 90 sitcoms that messed us up. So they had these conversations where the person says, I understand I made you angry. I understand I hurt your feelings. And, you know, they give this background about how they did it. And then they apologize and then hug. And everybody gets all this closure. And it's like, oh, we don't get that in real life. Let's be honest.
Yeah, you definitely won't get that.
You won't even get the acknowledgement of the closure and the apology. You don't even get the conversation where you get to say you did. We have to take control of our own healing, sometimes without any of that other stuff. And we want it. We be like, I deserve it. I deserve it.
A good experience with that here as a recent. But people,
no, I'm here. Hold on. Whoa. What we got? What we got?
They rolling in.
I know.
So Star says we are spiritual beings living a human experience. God knows we live on earth. I'm not for church religion for God's spirituality. I want to be earthly minded and heavenly good.
Y'all are coming.
Y'all better drop these gems in this comment section.
This is good.
Yes.
This is so good.
And I think that's and a lot of what she said is scripture based. I heard that. So, and that's the thing. We have to learn how to make the Bible live for us. Like you have to read it and figure out how to apply it in a way that makes sense to you. And a lot of people are they think they're manipulating the Bible. You're not. You're interpreting to understand so it can be useful to you. Right. Because that's what it's there for. It's the tool to help build, to help edify, to help comfort, to help strip away the need to get back.
And ultimately it's building on your relationship with God, whatever that looks like for you.
Yes.
And how Star says yes, she's a PK.
Oh, boom.
All right.
I fit PK's in the building. They don't know our struggle. They don't know our struggle. They don't know.
That definitely sounded like that was embedded and you done came a long way.
When I tell you and found your own way is that's a whole girl, we're gonna have to talk later. That's a whole other deep dive, y'all. Y'all don't understand. Like being part of the first family, like what people see with its celebrities, think about it on a much smaller scale every 7 days.
Yeah.
That's what we go through.
My great grandmother was a bishop. We was in church every day, girl. And for that.
You don't know who you can be friends with because some people are being friends just so they can find out about your family and then tell everybody your family business. So now you got to be guarded. Or you got the fact that, as soon as you do something, people questioning my dad as a pastor because I did something as a child. And I'm like, one has nothing to do with the other. And that don't make him a bad parent because I made a choice. And we learned, my parents taught us like early on, our choices are our choices. Now, I know on some level, our parents probably internalized some responsibility for us, but at the same time, they taught us your choices are your choices and you have to deal with that. But people on the outside never, grasp that. All of a sudden, if I choose to do something, then, what are they teaching her? First of all, my parents taught me what I needed to know. Yeah. I made a choice to go against what they taught me. So you're going to hold me responsible. You're not going to hold my parents responsible. And that was something a lot of people still can't grasp. And I'm 40. They still want to be like, oh, well, her daddy. I'm 40 years old. You not going to hold my daddy responsible for nothing I did. We done did 2 high school reunions. Tell you me and her daddy. Like, stop. No, we're not doing that. All right, talk to us. Well, what we got? I can't laugh out loud. That's
Y'all blind.
Hey, while you messing around, they turn around and be like, covered it. I don't know what this is. All right.
So Star says this is Jay Patrice.
Okay,
I'm not sure if y'all know it. Deanna says we are the ones that need to be on the couch the most.
Amen.
Courtney says, what up, Cole? I'm working on burning my list and letting go of my hurt/anger. I've been getting hit from every direction.
Are you
So pour up, ladies.
As y'all keep, oh yeah, I'm sorry.
We do. We gotta make these drinks because you know what? I need to toast some of these comments. All right. So y'all know I'm a bartender, but Jenaiya is not. So I'm gonna be doing this bartender style, and she gonna be doing this like my students start off. She gonna be, yeah. So we have Diddy's tequila here. I'm gonna take a stab and say it's Dilyn. Sounds about right. It's reposado because I already told y'all I don't do the blanco, so we got to do the reposado. Now Diddy's tequila, like it has like a bite in the beginning and then it smooths out at the end, and that's one of the reasons I like it. Like when you taste it, you're like,
I've never had it before.
Congratulations. Well, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a little bit of taste of it, so you can give me a glass. So you gotta smell it, y'all. You gotta do the whole experience.
I know that part.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching YouTube to TikTok.
Boom. Here we go.
Okay, yep. That was that bite.
See it smooth out.
And it does.
See? Gotta love it.
Yeah.
So let's make our tequila soda. So we're gonna start off full of ice, y'all. I know y'all think that, you know.
Light ice?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What you do with light ice, you end up getting more mixer. You're going to get the same amount of alcohol no matter the amount of ice. But if you do less ice, then you're going to end up with a lot more mixers. You end up with a weaker drink. So from now on, I want y'all to let the bartender do their job and make your drink. Okay? So we got our little ice chest here. I'm going to let you do your drink, girl.
I'm learning. Friends, y'all gonna be happy. I'm going to come back a real life bartender.
Okay. Now, if y'all want to hit me up, because I got y'all.
No.
I'm sure mine up a little bit. All right. So what Jenaiya is going to use is what we call a jigger. This is a measurement tool. Okay. So what you're going to do is fill this all the way up to the top, and that's going to give you 1.5 ounces of tequila.
Okay. With my jigger.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm going to put that over it.
Mm-hmm. And this is 1.5 ounces. Okay.
All the way up.
Oh, excuse me.
All the way up.
Just double checking. We're making tequila soda, correct?
Because I don't need one of those.
Oh, that's a professional.
And I am.
Yeah.
College girl.
Okay.
All right. So we have 1.5 ounces of tequila, and then we're going to add our club soda. All right.
Okay. All right.
Push it in. Okay. See that fizz? That's what you're looking for. Okay. So club soda does have a more fresh taste to it. You are welcome.
Do we stir or do we? Is that? Or we
you can do whatever you want to. You can do whatever you want to because it actually kind of all blends together.
Okay.
That's it. Yes, it is. So when you have simple drinks like this, good quality liquor is important because what you're mainly tasting here is the tequila. You're not tasting anything like the club soda doesn't really have a taste to it. It's giving you a little fizz, which is great, but it's all about the tequila,
which is why I love it.
I love this was her drink. This is the one she chose. So this is it. You gotta have quality tequila.
And it's something with that bite.
It is.
The bite is not biting like we're biting before.
It's the first time it bit her like a dope.
It really did. Yeah.
See, now this is like a love bite. A little nibble on her. Right. So
right, 2 things.
What's up?
So Star says she's laughing at Deon's, but she says a lot. The church people will take you there. I'm married to a woman, so let's just say I have blessed a lot of people.
A lot. Look, she blessed a lot of people.
Now the second question is referring to the drink. Deonza asks, is it a fruity or sweet version of this drink?
No.
This straight up.
This is for people like us. This is the liquor head. So one of the versions I would recommend, there is like a sparkling grapefruit juice, which is really good. Okay. I would recommend that. Then you could add a puree to it. Like if you wanted to do like a strawberry puree, you could do that to the tequila and then add the club soda, and that'll sweeten it up just a little bit. Now, for those of you who just need a little sweetness, juice. That's your best friend. Pineapple juice in particular. Pineapple juice has a sweetness to it that really helps to tame a lot of the bites that you get out of your tequila. So tequila and pineapple juice is a real good thing. So for those who want fruity, there you go. You can always mix fruit juices. I was doing a wedding once and the girl was like, I want tequila, but I want it really, really fruity so I gave her tequila and then I gave her cranberry, orange, and pineapple mix. And I told her, I said, well, here you go. She was like, what is this? It's the Fruit Loop.
That's what we're gonna
That's what it is. And she was like, oh, okay. So like all night she's coming back. I want the Fruit Loop. Can I get the Fruit Loop? And she's like, oh, I want my friend guy. She got a Fruit Loop. You're welcome. Okay. So that's how I tame it for my featherweight, my lightweight juice, or I give them less tequila. But I'm a liquor head. I like to taste it. Just being healed with therapy. Absolutely. What we got, Whoa?
I promise they stop talking really quick. Pastor's kids see more and hear way more.
Please understand that we know way more than y'all think we know. And more than we care to know. We don't even be in y'all business like that. But we know. We see stuff all the time. Okay? So people really have to be like around us because you don't want us to be like, Jesus, I'll be right back. And then, we tell the business. So I'm just saying, if you know a PK, we know the good. We try not to go there. Some people will push you there. We try not to go there. We try not to go there. It's annoying because it's one that we didn't ask for. Right. Our parents got called into the ministry, and suddenly people are like, well, when are you going to be in the ministry? Mind your business. Just because your mama lead the choir, does that mean you finna sing as well? Like, I don't know. Like the expectations that are put on us, and it's so funny because they're not biblical. Like all the expectations people put on us, and you tell them right now, go find that in the scripture where the good Lord above said that. Can't, because that was something they made up, and you be looking at them like, and then when they do find something, it's applying to all Christians. So it's like, even though you're trying to say it applies to me, it applies to you too. It's a us thing. That's a we thing. Like, why you playing? So, all right, what we got in the comments was we're gonna take another commercial break, and then we're gonna come back and do this serious deep dive.
So Ms. DeAnza says, so true. We may need a session together. And then of course next comment is nowhere. Because a lot of times when people see things or say things, they don't really know where it's at or find it in the Bible. So
can't find it. And you wanna know why they can't find it? Because it ain't in there. All right. Right. So we're gonna skip to a commercial break.
Miss C is in the building. She says PGK, so I guess it's Pastor's grandkid here. And I'm not gonna get started.
Girl, I already know. The moment people say they a PK, I just be like, one of these, because I get it. I already know.
It's a different world, man.
And people don't understand. Yeah. Like, nobody can get to you like church folk, like Baptist, Black church folk. Them the ones where you be like, maybe we need to go back and look at this religion thing.
That is what, That's why a lot of people are like, listen, we're not going to do this thing no more. Because they make you feel bad for being human.
And I'm going to tell you the biggest thing that I have appreciated about the pandemic, virtual church.
Come on now.
Girl, I love you in virtual church. I'll be at Bedside Baptist every Sunday. Okay? And I can praise my Jesus and not have to deal with, where you been? What you been up to? Why you acting? Why? Why you acting like you care about what I've been doing? Like, you don't care. Like, stop playing. We ain't seen you in so long. And it was so pleasant.
It was good
that I did not see you. Praise God, virtual church. Okay? Like, when I tell you that,
and that thing's still there.
And look, we still got virtual church in my dad's church. Okay? Now, if you want to go in the building, he don't stop you. But when I tell you I wake up on Sunday morning, let me get my thoughts together and pick up the phone. Hallelujah. Won't he do it? Okay, virtual church has been a blessing. Okay, while y'all was mad at this pandemic, the pandemic for introverts like me who are questionable on people on a regular basis, I need 6 feet because them is the rules. Those are the rules, and I need you to follow the rules. So, virtual church, eliminating all that. Yeah, we there. All right, so we're gonna go on this commercial break, and we're gonna come back, and we're gonna dive really, really deep into the therapy and uncover your beauty. How we got to have this amazing organization from this amazing woman here. So we will be back. Stay with us, and whatever drink you got, cheers. Cheers.
When it's time to celebrate a milestone, do it in style. Posh Event Center can design a party to turn 40, 50, 60, and beyond with a theme or other unique event decor.
All right, guys. So Jenaiya is coming back in a second, and we are going to take a deep dive into therapy. So, again, I asked you guys if that word scared you, and like 33% of the people who answered the question said yes. And it was so just eye opening for me personally, just trying to figure out, why everyone was so scared about it. So, a couple of things that I did find online were that, they were scared about, people thinking they're crazy. They were scared about people knowing what was going on with them. It was about talking to a stranger. They didn't want to talk to a stranger. And it was one of the things I found with having therapy. Talking to a stranger actually helped, because having someone who was not emotionally invested in me and who wasn't emotionally attached to whatever I was talking about, it helps, because now I'm not messing up Thanksgiving dinner by being honest. And now I'm like, pass the keys, and they throw them at me because, what I said. So I found it very comforting to actually talk to a third party who had no idea. It was more like a sounding board. So let's first talk about you, ma'am. There are some letters behind your name, the MA and a CA. So talk to us, Miss Jenaiya Coleman, about these letters behind your name.
Well, I have a master's degree it's a Master of Arts, which is basically a master's degree in counseling.
Okay.
And then I'm also a nationally certified victim advocate as well.
Okay.
That's the MA and the CA.
Okay, so let's talk about the master's in counseling.
Okay.
So what was that whole process like with getting a master's?
Well, I initially went to school for criminal justice, and I became a victim advocate. So when I became a victim advocate, what I kind of paid attention to was most of the victims that I spoke with, or survivors, I like to call them also, they just would sit on the phone and vent to me. And most times it wouldn't even be about the crime that they had experienced. It would more so just be about life in general. So, and I would just sit and listen. And so, and give them whatever advice, I could. And then I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go back to school. Which is funny, because I initially, after I got my bachelor's, because I actually got my bachelor's degree kind of late. It took me 10 years. Stopped, life was lifing, and I got it. So I got it in 2016. And then I said, I'm not going back to school. Anybody got time for that? And I was like, I can do this. Yeah. And I did. And I actually ended up finishing a 2-year degree in 11 months. I always tell people that part.
Come on. So just, by the way, that 2 years, didn't need them.
It was hard, though. I'm not even gonna lie. But I said I'm gonna go back and get a degree in counseling, because, ironically, as a child, I always said I wanted to be a psychologist, but I said I was not going to be in school forever today.
Ain't matter.
And who was in school for forever today?
You.
But yeah, so it's interesting. I always tell people, even my clients, whatever you wanted to be when you were a kid, like more than likely that's what you're going to end up doing, or something similar, or do something similar to that, because that's what's going to make you happiest. And yeah, it's just always kind of been in me. I find myself, no matter when I was 18 years old, giving 50-year-olds advice about life that I ain't even liked yet. How about that?
You touched on something. They listen. They listen, and I can appreciate someone older.
Yeah.
Listen to someone younger, because normally I would say it should be the other way around, but it can be both. Yeah. So you spoke earlier about having some traumas yourself. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, listen. And I'm very open about it. As a child, I was molested by a family member, verbally abused, physically abused, of course, cheated on. I had mommy and daddy issues. What else?
What else? She's like,
what else?
Yeah,
sexually assaulted. Yeah. So honestly, it's like you name it, I've had it. Like I said, my friends passed away at a young age. 3 of them.
Yeah.
At a young age. So dealing with that grief piece. Yeah. My mom. We've had issues in the home. Addictions, and you name it, I have probably experienced it. Wow. Yeah.
So talk to me about the journey of healing from, because it's one thing to have one trauma, but to have multiple traumas. Talk to me about the journey of healing from those.
Actually, you know what? I think my healing journey started as a kid, ironically. I was always a little different. I thought I was a little strange, a little weird. I did. Because I would find myself as a kid, even though the household wasn't its best. My mom did the best that she could with what she had, of course. But in my head, I always thought it could be better, even back then. So I started journaling when I was probably in the 3rd grade. I still have some of those journals.
Really?
Yeah, from the 3rd grade. Wow. And of course, looking back at that stuff, it would be like, I don't want to go to school today, or I'm feeling sad today. And it would just be one sentence, and I didn't realize I was actually journaling back then. But that was how I started releasing even back then. And then going through middle school, I didn't realize through dance, that was my outlet. Because when I would dance, it's almost like I just transform into a completely different person. Right. Almost like Beyonce. You know,
come on, Sasha Fierce.
I'm just saying.
You had to do another person.
I did another person. So yeah, and I didn't even realize that until, like I said, those friends passed away. And I just realized, like, with the whole church thing, I was still going to church, but I wasn't, it was like I was present, but I wasn't present because I wasn't learning what I needed to learn there. And I was doing a lot of dancing in church too. So that helped a lot. And then when I went, and I will say this too, I had a lot of teachers that would talk to me. Yeah. I was a teacher's pet. And I didn't even realize it was because of the relationships that were not working at home.
Right.
And I just kind of took to all of these different women, some of my friends' moms as well. And then when I went to college, I went to Hampton University.
Come on.
Went to Hampton, and that's when I had my first therapy appointment with our counselor there. And at the time, I don't even remember what I was really experiencing or going through that was just that heavy that compelled me to even make the appointment. But it also, looking back at that, let me know that there was something else that was inside of me that had this yearning to heal when I didn't even realize that I needed to.
Wow.
And so, I think it might have been a combination of like moving away from home. And at the time I was dating this guy and he was away. It was just a lot of life. And my mom and my dad, they didn't move me to college. So I did a lot of that on my own. Yeah.
So they didn't drop you off?
No. What? Yeah. I actually left home. I graduated high school, and 2 weeks later I left and went ahead and moved to Virginia. So yeah, I was just, I was running away from home, basically, trying to get out of there because running away from that life back there. And then that was college, and then I moved back home because I was only at Hampton for a year, because that became a lot. And I was in church one day and looked up and was like crying during my pastor's anniversary and decided to move here to Atlanta. And then that snowball trauma effect started as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was divorced, single mom, all of that as well. And in 2000, what year are we in? 2016.
Okay.
Is when I had a situation that took place, and I was like, me praying about this, just not no. I need something stronger than this. And that's when I made an appointment to my therapist, and she was actually a Christian counselor.
Okay.
Because I still wanted to kind of incorporate that as well, because that was my foundation. That was really all I knew.
Yeah.
And I knew that for me, my relationship with God has always worked the way that I have worked it in my own silent space.
Right.
But at the same time, I was what I call a baby Christian.
Okay.
So I knew I needed an extra little something. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to be judged for it. So she made the safest space for me to come in and just unload.
Yeah.
And I had to go back to that childhood trauma in order for me to even start to understand this adult trauma.
Yeah.
And some of it stemmed from the childhood trauma. So she was amazing. Oh. I went to her for like three years on and off. And this is another thing I was going to say earlier too, that it's okay to graduate from a therapist.
Yeah.
Because since 2017, I've had like 3 different therapists, because for some reason, and I don't know if it's because I'm a counselor, but they grow this attachment to me. And I have to kind of sever that tie, because it becomes almost like a friendship.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for it, but at the same time, it's like, okay, it's time to kind of for me to move on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But it might just be that particular issue that will have to adjust, and now it's time to, because every counselor has like their own kind of specialty.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you with this problem is good, but then the next problem is not their specialty, so you got to find another one. So wow.
I know.
Okay. Journaling. Okay, we gotta talk about journaling. That's one of my favorite things as an adult. And I didn't really start until college, once I moved away from home, because I did not realize, when we were younger, we had our diary. I didn't do that. I never did that. I don't know why. I just never did. And then when I got, to college. No. The one thing about my dad respects his faith. Now, my mama would have read it.
My mama read mine.
Yeah, my mama would have read it. But I never got into it, because I had no problem keeping my stuff to myself. So I'd be like, I was my own journal. So I never, expressed it. But like me and my friends always talked.
Okay.
So I never did that. And then when I got to college and none of my friends were there, and I had to start over with making friends and creating this life and all that stuff, I met a young lady, and she and I used to do Bible study together. And I was like, I saw a lot of people my age with a much closer relationship with God than I had. And I was like, well, what am I not doing that they are doing? And I realized it was because I was always surrounded by adults, and their adult problems and my not yet adult problems didn't always coincide. And so talking with her only being a year older than me, it made more sense to connect it. So she told me, start writing stuff down. And journaling has been something that is life-saving. If you don't journal, please, this week, go buy one, because I've looked up different ways you can journal. And one of the things I found was doodling, making pictures and stuff. So I have some journals that literally it's like a picture book. Yeah. But I write words, but it's not these complete sentences. It's the words that go with the picture. But it made sense to me.
And sometimes that's why a lot of people they don't journal. It's almost like of being afraid of what they might say, or somebody might find it, and you have to kind of get out of that.
Yeah.
Because I always encourage journaling, simply because, like you said, it is life changing. One thing that I noticed during my journaling, ironically, is from that 2017 moving on into, I'll say, right before the pandemic.
Okay.
All of my journals, I would go back and read them almost like books, actual novels. And when I would go back and read them, it was almost like having an out-of-body experience. I would not remember writing any of it because I would get so lost in it. But I also noticed that I only wrote about the hurtful, painful things. I never wrote about anything that was happy. No happiness. And I started, like I said, I had journals since I was in elementary school. I would take these journals, and everywhere I moved, I would move them with me. And I would always keep them by my bed. But I was not able to sleep at night a lot of the time. And I always felt like that some people don't like to talk about energy and all of that stuff. And I believe in it. Listen, I believe in energy.
Come on.
But I felt like I was taking that negativity and moving it everywhere that I was going. So around maybe 2019 or so, some of those journals I actually prayed over and burnt them. Wow. And I just didn't want to carry that with me anymore. And it was almost like an attachment. These were like my little babies. Yeah. I was so attached to them, but I was like, I don't want this in my life anymore, because now that I'm in therapy and now that I'm learning a different way, I'm learning to heal this. Yeah. So it's time to release it at the same time. So journaling is amazing. Though.
One of the things, so my godfather, also a pastor, girl, I'm surrounded by him. But he talked about when it comes to the hurt, that sometimes we rehearse it and we relive it and we review it and we just relive it. And a lot of times that one, I've heard him preach my entire life. He's been my godfather my entire life. But that was one of the ones that really stuck out to me, because I can remember, you go through certain situations or you have certain arguments and you play back in your head. I should have said this. Yes. And it's like you go over that, but it's like you hold on to it and the emotions are still so fresh, and it could be something that happened years ago, but because you keep rehearsing it in your mind, you keep reliving it, you keep going over it and over it, it stays so fresh to the point where you never heal. It's like you get a scab and then you rip it off and then you bleed and then you're like, dang, I'm bleeding. And then you're like, okay, I got a scab. And then you bleed again. And so to let go of some of those journals, that's huge. And it's healing in itself, because in a sense you're breaking those chains.
Yeah. But that was also like an emotional attachment I had. It was almost like having an emotional attachment with myself, because this is me on these pages. These are, in some instances, some things that nobody knows about me. Like even with my journals now, because it's funny, like talking to a therapist, some people will be like, ooh, I don't want to go wild, I want them to think I'm crazy. But because listen, we all have some crazy thoughts, but listen.
That's what your journal is for.
You know what I'm saying? And
put
so,
your crazy thoughts in there.
You go through, you're writing all of this stuff, some of your most sacred, I don't want to say secrets, just stuff that you just probably would never tell anyone, just from
your
fear of
being
judged or just someone looking at you just completely different because you feel this way. So that attachment I had to those journals was almost like, do I really want to?
It's me.
It's my year.
It's my life.
Am I even gonna remember this? But then it's like, I don't even want to remember this stuff. Yeah. So but I was like, I have to do this for myself. Yeah. And what I was gonna say earlier was interesting. Somebody said in the chat, I kind of alluded to with for me here recently. So the situation I said I had some trauma that happened literally 7 years ago. And so as of recent, I've always found myself, I'm able to give all this great advice. I have these clients and I'm helping them and all this, that, and the other. And I've done all this therapy and I'm like, therapy, I got this thing down packed. Yes. But what I realized, in which shout out to my people, to my community, to my friends, my family, this year in therapy, my therapist asked me at the end of last year, she was like, Jenaiya, you are always surrounded by all these people and you're giving this great advice and all this other stuff. Like, who's there for you? And I'm like, nobody. Nobody's there for me. And she's like, anybody. This is damn in distress. But she's like, why? And I'm like, because. And she's like, because what? You don't talk to them about nothing that you're going through, do you? And I was like, first of all, you're not going to be in my business like that. Don't be trying to my life. Don't be trying to set me straight. You not know my life. Wait a minute. Don't you judge me? you calling me out?
Don't you just?
That's not what you're here for.
Okay. I'm here to talk about how they're never here for me. Do you let them hear for you? That's not what you're talking about.
I was like, dang. So I literally had to have like a, hey girls, hey guys, I apologize for not being as open and transparent and vulnerable with you. And then I had to sit with why did I even feel that way? And in my head,
come on,
sorry friends, but in my head, I was like, they're not gonna have the capacity to give me what I give them. But it's like, well, how would you know?
You ain't
giving
them
nothing. What are you doing?
Because when you're the one who's always giving advice, if I'm giving you advice, what advice are you gonna give me?
Yes.
And you don't even mean to feel that way. But if you're like, if everybody comes to me for advice, then I can't go back to them and be like,
yeah. I have to go on a legit apology to her.
Yeah.
My friend's like, what's apologizing for? I'm like, I ain't been a good friend, man. I ain't been transparent. I ain't been vulnerable with y'all. I haven't even given you guys the opportunity to really be there for me like that. And that is like, that's so selfish. That is not okay.
But you know what? I think like for so many people, even if you're a person who tells people to open up, the thought of you opening up is scary. Like I and it happens all the time. You know, like me and my dad had this talk, and he told me, he was like, "You're so private. You played everything so close to the vest." And I was looking at him like, and this is a bad thing? You know, because I'm like, I don't know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
But I plan to keep doing that. And he was like, you're upset because you feel like, you know, I don't step in enough on your behalf. He's like, but you don't tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
And all my walls of you don't do for me, like, you know, and all that came crumbling down. Because it was like, I can't expect you to step into a situation that you're not even aware that's happening. And the thought of opening up, that is scary.
Yeah.
That
but
vulnerability.
You know what I found is that part of that is you not trusting yourself with other people and not even giving them the opportunity. But I saw that to say. So yeah. So I went on this apology tour, and then about 6 months ago or so, I had someone to say to me, like, Jenaiya, you had these conversations with your mom, you had this conversation with your dad, and which was amazing. I encourage, have the conversation. And I say that because for 30-something years, I just knew I wasn't going to be able to have a real conversation with my mom or a real conversation with my dad. And me going to therapy and me praying about that thing, and then even sharing my experiences in therapy with them started to open them up. So when it was time to have that conversation, it was amazing. It was life-changing. My relationship with my mom and dad now, chef's kiss, amazing. So they were like, you had all these conversations, like, but the conversations that you need to have with some of the men in your life that caused you trauma, like, you're still holding on to them. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Right, but yeah, you are. So I had to have another moment with myself, like, dang, okay. So I began writing them letters, but I never finished them. And I don't know why.
Finished or sent?
Finished. It was like, dear blah, 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 you hurt me. Because in that, what I found was, with the conversation with mom and dad, I was given the opportunity to sit with them to let them know what hurt me. And they listened. So back to what we were saying earlier, most people don't get the apology, but I have been so blessed as of recent to be able to start to receive those apologies. Started writing the letters, and for some reason, I just did not finish them. Like, literally started writing them in one of my journals. I finished the journal and started a whole nother one. And the letter's still there with a few pages. It's like 3 pages that's empty.
Where's the Leah full-page letter?
Come on now.
Write this letter.
It just wasn't happening. So recently I read a book, and it said one of the things in it was to write down the people who hurt you. And I was like, okay, we're going to do this thing? We're going to do it. So it was 22 people on the list, including myself and God.
Ooh, that's just
I ain't afraid of God. I'm out. Okay. We were gonna have
he said he can handle it. So
you know what I'm saying? So I put everybody on there. But then as I went through the list, out of 22 people, I realized I've had most of these conversations. Which is a blessing, because most people don't get the opportunity to do. But these last 2 people, I was like, okay, I had to get the courage to write the letters. I had to get the courage to talk about the hurt. And I went in grave detail. This is what you did to me. This is how it hurt. This is where for years, where I would not forgive myself for XYZ. And this is how it has caused damage to my life. And I've allowed you to do this to me. So the book suggested to send the letters or burn them. And I was like, I'm sending them. Now, mind you, one person I haven't spoken to in 7 years. And then the other person I hadn't spoke to, which was the guy who raped me, over 12 years. And I was like, okay. Before I sent them, I bawled my eyes out because I was like, I'm really doing this. So I sent both letters. The rapist guy, that's a whole nother situation. I knew I wasn't going to get anything from him. Right. And I actually didn't have any expectations at all. But then a week later, the other guy reached out to me and we sat down and had a conversation. And I hadn't seen him, like I said, in 7 years. I didn't know what this thing was going to look like. But I was like, I'm going in here. Locked it a little bit. Listen, this has been 7 years. Okay.
You're going to get these emotions.
Come on. Let's get it.
Yes.
And I didn't even initially have to say anything. As soon as he saw me, he just started letting it all out. And I was like, what? Yo.
Was not expecting that.
What is happening? What? But it was the most amazing thing to happen for me. And I was able to really release all of that. And since then, this was literally just a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago that this happened. But it was the most amazing thing for me. And I felt like I was able to close another chapter. Yes. So then it's like, I'm calling my therapist. What up, Will?
Oh, your comments are lit.
Oh, sorry, y'all. Talk to us.
Yeah, comments are lit. So we're going to slide back a little bit. C of iAmWoe Media Group, that is. Prioritizing your mental health is a form of self-care. Jazz, Miss Woe here. She says,
what up, Jazz?
She has some links in the chat for a dream journal. Purple Disco Stars, Black Women Keep on Dreaming Dream Journal. So there's a link for that. There's also a link here for a prayer journal. Pray about everything. Courtney commented on the being strong, the strong person, the strong friend. When people don't reach out, she says they think strong people don't need help. We have to ask for help or lose our shit to get it.
Yep.
And then she says the reason is you don't want to look or feel weak to the people you're always helping. You had a moment where Ms. DeAnza, he says, wow, you guys sound like my therapist. These are some of the same things she told me in my beginning sessions. She asked me 2 questions. What do you want the outcome of your mental self to be? Do you want to be healed or do you want to be whole? And are you willing to do the work? This is good, ladies. She just wanted to just give y'all, shout outs for that.
I love you.
And of course, Courtney's come back around to say she's knocked a few off her list.
Now, here's one thing I will say. Number one, those prayer journals, y'all get the links to these journals. Because if you've never journaled before, please do that experience. It is because, like we talked about how we talked about the negative stuff. We also talk about the happy stuff. I put prayers in journals. And one thing about going back and reading them, when you realize that prayers got answered, it strengthens your faith and it strengthens your resolve to keep praying. And prayer for me is such a release because it's like, you know what? I'm getting rid of it. I'm going to give it to God. And when you go back and realize, you asked for certain things or even just talked about certain things in those journals, and then he starts to activate. What that girl say on Family Feud? Holy Spirit, activate. Holy Spirit, that journal, oh my gosh, it activates. Activates. And when you go back and start seeing your growth, because one thing I noticed is I did stop writing so much about the bad stuff. And I started writing more about happy stuff or expectations. And when you start to realize that your life becomes more than just those moments of pain, and you have so much more going for you, so much more going on around you, and you start to embrace. And I think journaling has helped me to be a lot more grateful. Absolutely. And when you are sitting around, instead of thinking all the things that are going wrong, and you're thinking about all the things you're grateful for, and it's that's life changing when you start changing your perspective. One of the things we did in my church one year, we did a growth challenge. Every week, our pastor, aka my daddy, gave us a growth challenge, and it was a way to really challenge how we see things, how we think. And one of the challenges was every time you get ready to complain about a situation, I want you to think of 3 things you're grateful for. Oh, that's good. Oh my gosh, when I tell you, I didn't realize at that point how much I complained until I had to start thinking. And I'm like, if I keep thinking of 3, God dang it. So I'm going to stop complaining, because it got to the point where I was like, I don't want to complain. Yeah. And I remember one day I was late for work, and I didn't have a car at the time, so I was on the bus. And I was like, dang it, now I got to get on the bus. Now I got to get a cab and get this. And I was like, okay, you know what? Growth challenge. 3 things. Number 1, I have the money to get the cab to go to work. Number 2, I was working at a restaurant, so I can go make this money back. Number 3, I got a job. Okay, boom. So it's like that changed everything. And now when I go into the journal part, where I'm thinking, these are the things I'm grateful for today. Yeah. These are the things that happened, and I'm glad they happened. Even the things that happened that rocked my nerves. Okay, what am I grateful for? I'm grateful that I didn't lose my shit. Come on now. I'm grateful that I didn't let it get under my skin to the point where it ruined my whole day. Yes, for that 20 minutes, I was like, ooh. And that's okay. So that's a human feeling. But I got 24 hours. Come on now. So did I let this 20 minutes ruin the 24 hours? No. And that, those things when you're doing the journal. So y'all get journals. Yeah. And if you, go online, look up journal prompts. Yeah. I have looked up journal prompts for a businesswoman. Journal prompts for a Black woman. Journaling for, just like looking up, and they have all these different questions, all these different things. And because you have different aspects of your life. Absolutely. And you should look at all of them. Yeah. And if y'all are not journaling, I do encourage you to definitely do that. And even if it's not a lot, like you don't have to start with a lot. Yeah. Because most people that are my clients, they'll be like, well, you've been journaling forever. And I'm like, yeah, I have. But some days I really don't have a lot to say. Some days I can literally just go back to, I'm mad. And sometimes I don't even unpack that. That's it. That's all. I just need to say it out loud. Today, I was journaling today. I was in this space this morning. I was sleepy. I ain't get enough sleep last night. And I was like, I need to write. I just need to write. Because I have those moments. And I started journaling. And I don't even think I finished my last sentence. I just closed it. And that was it. And I probably won't even go back to that. I'll probably start a new page. It was probably enough, though. Yeah. It was enough to just get out what you got out. That was it. So let's talk before we move to this part. Let's read these comments for us. Well, let's talk about what we got in these comments.
Basically, she was just this is Jazz, who's kind of just amen the whole, like Bishop Morton, I won't complain.
That's my song. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Courtney wanted to correct, she's knocked a few people off her list that hurt her.
I love it. And that's good. I love it. And as the list gets smaller, I think we get more determined to add people to it. Boundaries. Because you're like, you know what? Boundaries. That is a big
That's your
word.
Best friend. A boundary is your best friend.
Let me tell you, setting boundaries is self-care. Yes. Okay? Because you have to know that it's okay to say enough is enough. You don't have to keep taking it on the chin. And you know what? With those boundaries, I say this, I say it out loud. Listen, now that I am a boundary setter, I set boundaries with my child. I set boundaries with everybody. My mama, my daddy, my granddaddy. And if you know me, y'all know that's my favorite person in the whole wide world. But granddaddy. Still, I have to have, I am a boundary setter. But prior to that, I had to learn that my no's are okay. Yes. Like a no is okay. Just because you're used to me saying yes when I do finally say no, they're going to look at you crazy. When you start saying no.
Today.
Now, I was today years old when I realized no was an answer.
And that's okay. Because you'll get over it.
And you can't feel guilty. Like, we were taught so much growing up to don't be selfish. Don't just think of yourself. Let me tell you something. Okay? Beyonce told us, me, myself, and I. That's all I got me in. Let me break them down to you. If you can't pour from an empty cup. That's what they say all the time. At some point, you do need to focus on yourself and not think that it's a bad thing, that it's a selfish thing, because why not? Aren't you a person? Aren't you important? Aren't you a priority? And if you are nervous about saying yes to any of those questions, that's the first thing you need to talk about in therapy. Why am I afraid to put myself first? Why am I afraid to prioritize myself? Why do I feel guilty?
And most times it is because, like, growing up, you were taught that you shouldn't be selfish.
Put others before yourself.
Yeah. And that's how a lot of people do end up hurting.
Because you literally, I mean, at some point, it's like, when have you dealt with what's going on in your life? And now, I'm a big Destiny Child fan. In one of their songs, Independent Women, she says, I am my number one priority. I don't know why, but when I was in high school, that line, it hit. It did. It hit. Like, because when she said it, and you know how you sing along, and then you sing along, and then you're like, wait a minute. And I said it. I said, yes, I am.
Because so many people don't make themselves their priority. And I know you said that, well, technically you are a mom still, to say. But when you have children, so many parents, right, they just completely lose themselves. Sometimes you lose yourself in a spouse. And you just forget about in a job, in a career. You just completely forget about yourself. And even with the grind, you know, I'm grinding with my legacy. Now it's just like you tired.
You are go to sleep.
Tired.
Go to sleep. And you know how many times I have felt guilty about a day where I did not do anything? Like, I would, you know, because I told you, I get up, first thing on my mind is all that jazz. I am constantly, you know, on the business tip.
Yeah.
And then it was a couple of days. I want to say it was probably like a month ago. And I had a day off. And first of all, I felt weird because I had a day off. I'm like, I don't really know what those days look like because day off was a day off. And I stayed in the bed all day, y'all. Like, literally, I stayed in the bed.
I love that.
I got up, played on my iPad, watched some TV, went and snacked, and it was nothing healthy. Like, it was literally like just snacks, sodas, no water. Like, I'm literally was like, junk.
You were happy, don't worry.
I was.
I know.
But by the end of the day, I felt guilty. Really? Because I was like, I didn't check an email. I was like, it could be a client sitting in my email right now. I felt so bad. And my dad had to tell me, he was like, you had a good day. And he had to drill that into me because I was looking at him like, lazy helpful.
And you know what?
The whole business in the crumble.
Because you took a day for yourself.
I felt so
relaxed and to rest.
Yes.
Your mind needs that rest. Your body needs that rest. I understand the grind. I get it. Yeah. I totally understand. But at the same time, you can grind your ass into the ground.
And we
or to the hospital.
And can. Then your body looking at you like, we finna sit down. No, we don't know what you finna do. But we finna sit down. And like when I tell you the next day, I was like, I gotta get up. I gotta do stuff. And it took me a minute to stop feeling bad about that one day.
Wow.
It took like 3-4 days because I was like,
listen, those that know Jenaiya know. Y'all can call me. That phone don't do not disturb. I'm gonna do it just like, and I'm gonna lay in that bed because I'm gonna sleep. I'm gonna get some rest. Because at the end of the day, I know I do work hard, and I'm also, and I don't know if I just put it in my head, I've had a hard life.
Yeah.
I don't want the rest of my days to continue to be hard. I'm sorry, I just don't. I just don't. Lord, I just don't. So it's still okay to grind. And entrepreneurs, I know that is a whole nother grind. Yes, I have my business, but I do have my 9 to 5, and I like my 9 to 5. I like my check. that I know is coming every 2 weeks. So
Amen. Ain't nothing the matter with that.
I like them days off.
Ain't nothing the matter with that. And you know what?
And I still work my business.
Literally, I think before Labor Day, that Sunday, I had a wedding. I had to coordinate. Before that, I think it was 20 days in a row that I worked. Because I was at the school, and then I did a private session, and then I was doing an event coordinating, and then I was doing mentor sessions. It was literally 20, 21 days in a row.
Let me ask you this, though. These are things you love.
I do, and that's my problem.
So it doesn't always feel like work.
It doesn't.
See, that's the difference, too.
Yeah.
So I get that. I can totally understand that when you're doing something that you love, it doesn't feel like work. So I can totally understand why a day off is like,
I stayed in the bed Monday, and it was kind of like, Lord have mercy. I looked at my clock. It's 3:30 in the afternoon. I'm still in my bed. And it was weird. Yeah. And that's my biggest thing is like, I don't work jobs. I tell everybody my career plays itself out on different stages. Because everything that I do points back to being a hospitality mentor, an entrepreneur, and hospitality and entertainment. So whatever I do, it all falls under that. So even though there are days I'm like, oh my God, all right, here we go. Yeah. Because it's what I love to do. So it's sometimes very hard. That's setting boundaries with myself, with my career. That's my biggest problem.
That's important.
That's my biggest problem because I'm like, but I love it. Go to bed. But before I do,
ultimately, I guess the way that I kind of try to drill that in people is like at the end of the day, if you're going and going and going and going and going, your body is going to shut down. Like eventually it's going to shut down. You may not think that that's stressful, but internally you're internalizing stress. You know what I'm saying? So you need your body, your mind need that break. And that is like, okay. It is. It is. That is okay. Self-care. That is okay.
Let's move into uncover your beauty.
Okay, let's go, girl.
Because this is dance therapy. We're still talking about the big keywords. Still talking about therapy. Talk to us about uncover your beauty.
Okay, actually, next month will be the 10-year anniversary for Uncover Your Beauty.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes. I'm having a class, so you guys make sure and follow me and all that good stuff. I'm putting it out there. It's already on my website. But yeah, so I started not dance therapy, but I started Uncover Your Beauty after when I was going through my divorce in 2012, 2013. Well, the idea became an idea in 2012. And it more so was this thing where I was like, I know I like to dance. I think I'm sexy or something, you know what I'm saying? And it was a way to I remember that little girl that danced and it was a release. So at the time when I was going through my divorce, I didn't do any therapy or anything back then. So I was like, I need something. And I just started these dance classes. Like I was on a whim, like literally one day woke up and was like, got it. Don't know how to run nobody's business. No, nothing.
Start with an idea.
Nothing. I'm like,
start with a light bulb moment.
I'll tell you what, I wrote it down and made it plain.
Hello.
I did.
Write the vision. Write the vision. Yes.
And I rented out a studio. I don't even know how I made contact with this man, but ended up renting out a studio. Didn't nobody show up but my four little friends.
Come on, 4 friends.
Thank y'all.
4 friends.
But I was always taught, because I've been dancing since the 4th grade, 3rd or 4th grade. But I've always taught, if there's one person that show up, you're gonna teach that class.
Yes.
And that's what I did. And and this was before Instagram and all of that. So it was like literally word of mouth. And it just started spreading. So at the time I was doing these sexy chair classes. And I was disappointed in that first class as well, because the guy who had me at the studio, he promised me all these people gonna come, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be that, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, I'm not good at marketing at all. I suck at it. Yeah. I just want to show up and teach the class. That's it. Okay. That is not my forte. So we get there and nobody's there. I'm like, where the people? Okay, you where are the people? Because I still gotta pay you for this space. And then I had a celebrity photographer come who I just met on the whim, and he shows up, and I'm looking at him like, I can't pay you in. Like, what? So I'm like,
randomly
it was horrible. I'm in tears, and he's like, you know what, Jenaiya, you can do this. Like, he spoke so much life into me. Shout out to Derek White. So much life into me. He was like, why don't you do the chair thing? Like, what you were doing with the chair? That's kind of cool. Nobody's doing that. Because everybody was kind of doing pole. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Okay. So I started the classes at another studio, which is Soul Asylum Studios. Shout out to Raphael Capone. When I first moved here, I was in a singing group. He has this studio space. He's had it forever. And he had built a dance studio. Okay. And I was like, okay. And I went to him, and he was like, listen, I remember you from back in the day. Come here. I'm going to help you out and just start having your classes here. And like I said, it just took off. Yeah. It got from up under me where I'm like, half the time I'm coming to these classes and I'm like, oh my gosh, this has become so much bigger than what I thought it was going to be. And that was amazing because it literally, I found myself in the classes. I would have these moments. I always set the atmosphere. It's always a vibe. We got candles, there's flowers, we got wine. It's a whole situation.
Come on, wine.
Yes,
I didn't know we had wine.
Back in the day, the classes was $5. Yeah, you want to get a whole show.
We got a whole class.
And it was most of them were themed. It was a situation, okay?
I kind of like that. It was awesome.
Right. We was on group line, so I had a whole class one time of some bachelorette parties all the whole. It was great. Wow, it was a thing. Okay. And they would come from out of town and everything. So anyway, that was awesome. That was amazing. But then I found myself giving these speeches during class. You can do this and encouraging the women and all this other stuff, which at the time I didn't realize I was doing the dance therapy piece then. Oh, okay. And then 2018, when I went back to get the degree, I had another one of those, I got it. I got it. And I was like, dance therapy. I'm like, now I'm going to have my purpose and my passion collide. Come on. And I was like, okay. Then I have to do the marketing piece again. And I'm like, damn it. Here we go. Damn it. So I had my last chair class in 2018. Okay. It was amazing. And then the end was a disaster. And everybody was definitely like, yeah, you really about to like, this is it? And I'm like, yeah, this is it. We ain't being sexy no more. Like, I don't know. I don't like the whole sexy thing no more. Like, I want to teach y'all how to heal on the inside. The outside is cute. We're cute. But I'm trying to heal the inside now. They look at me like, girl, I ain't trying to hear that. We want to dance on your chair.
You done started something. You done awoken things. Wait. Back to the sexy part.
Yeah, like, what? What are you talking about? And I was like, oh, God, I'm having to start from square one again. Wow. And, yeah, literally, I had my first dance therapy class. I didn't have a plan. I had an idea, but I didn't have a plan. But I went back in, and my mama showed up. Another one of my friends showed up, and a cousin showed up, and my son was in the corner.
Hey, look.
And that was it. And I was like, we gonna roll with it. And I did. And then the pandemic hit. And I was like, damn COVID. But the blessing in that was I was able to I was able to, I had a lot of online clients. So I was able to really dive into the counseling piece of it, which was a blessing. Okay. And so, yeah, I just pretty much, as I went through the years of healing, I just wanted other people to heal with me. Let's do this thing together because I see what this is doing for me. Let me share this with you. And so during those speeches that I would have during the class, like they would really sit there and listen with such intent. And I'm like, I'm talking about something because they're listening.
Somebody is getting
it. So I was like, okay, all right. I'm going to take what I've learned in school. I'm going to take what I have just learned from therapy and healing on my own. And I'm going to teach people. And we're going to dance at the same time because dancing, if you think about it, when it comes to dancing, you don't have to have nobody's rhythm. You don't have to know the words. You feel that beat. People, it literally heals sick people through dance. Okay. Just in one of the biggest moments that I had, I was in New Orleans a few years ago. And I was able to experience with some of my friends the most beautiful moment. if you've ever been to New Orleans, they have the second line that comes through, and it was freezing. It was January. We were there for 24 hours. There was this lady who was in a wheelchair, and they came through in the second line. And me and my friends, honey, if we hear a beat, we gonna drop it low. We gonna have a moment. We gonna put on a show. And we got the dancing, and so people literally, this crowd just formed out of nowhere. And this lady in this wheelchair, she just started moving and moving. It was a white lady. Okay. She was moving. And we came over, we grabbed her hands and danced with her. And I think it might have been her sister or somebody said this is like the most we've seen her move in a long time. Oh, wow. And it touched us. It brought us all to tears. It was just the most amazing, beautiful moment through dancing.
Because it's universal.
Yes.
And it breaks boundaries and it removes all the lines.
Yes.
And you can just be people free, enjoying movement.
Yeah. And I always tell people, like, even in my classes, if you've ever taken one of my classes, I'm like, Jenaiya, what's the count? I don't know. Yeah. I've been dancing for over 20 years. It's the beat. It's the words. Right. You just feel it.
When you hear them say, I want you to do one of these.
Exactly. Because I've always just felt it in my spirit, in my soul. And so I've always wanted to just share that with people. And as, like I said, as the years have gone by, like that outer appearance, initially that's what it was. Because after my divorce, I just felt just so beat up as a woman. I felt like I failed. I felt myself. I felt my son. I felt my ex-husband. Like it was horrible. Even though it was the right thing for me to do at that time, I don't regret it at all. But it was just a really tough time in my life, and dance was my only outlet that I had. And I just wanted to share that with people. But like I said, it was for my outside. And as the years have gone by, I'm like, I'm feeling my inside. This feels great. I have to share this with people.
All right. So let's take a couple of questions from our audience that has been hanging with us.
Yeah,
love it. Y'all been hanging with us. So what questions do you have from Ms. Jenaiya Coleman regarding therapy, uncover your beauty, any of that stuff? Yeah. Because we touched on a lot tonight. And I love it. I hope that this is encouraging someone who is nervous about therapy to go. Find your type of therapy. You know, it might be a yoga class. Yes. It might be horseback riding. It might be kickboxing. It might be journaling, meditation. It could be a number of things. And you'd be surprised how much stuff is in your area. Yeah. You know, if you go to a high school guidance counselor, just ask them for a referral. You know, they may know someone who does, you know, therapy. Find someone, even if you only do one session. Yeah. I mean, honestly, you'll probably want to do more after you do that first one. Yeah. But do one session so you can at least have that moment of release, that moment of, you know, freedom to speak your mind. It is super important. All right, we got a question. What's up?
Beyond the Heat asks, how early should you introduce children to therapy?
ASAP. Yep. My son, and I can speak on that because my son, I think I booked his first therapy session when he was he's 13 now, maybe about 7 or 8, perhaps. And I only did it because I noticed that with me being a counselor, I couldn't remove the emotion of being his mom in some instances in what he was dealing with, but then he could feel that. He felt that with me. And sometimes I would ask him certain questions and I just couldn't get anything out of him. He wouldn't talk to me about certain things. Yeah. And it wasn't because he didn't feel comfortable. He just didn't know how to verbalize some of the things that he was feeling. So I said, you know what? I can't do this on my own. And I want him to be able to get the help that he needs. So I went on Google and found a child therapist who specialized in that. So you touched on that earlier. I would definitely recommend finding someone who specializes in child therapy because the way that they do things is completely different. One of his sessions, she had a huge sandbox that she had little figurines in it, and she asked him a question about what he was dealing with and to use the figurines to express himself. And after the session, she came and she told me everything that he felt without him even really having to explain it to her. She understood it all. And that was exactly what he was experiencing and going through. And so, yeah, as early as possible, especially if they don't feel as comfortable speaking with you, and don't take offense to that. Yeah. Doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong at all. You just have to understand like that emotional side of that with you, just like with you and going to therapy. Like you don't always want to go talk to your parents about something. So yeah, just as early as possible.
I think definitely if they start asking questions about something that you don't feel like you have enough knowledge, I think that's important to definitely, if you start seeing signs that they're withdrawn, or if they only want to, like, especially if they only want to talk to one particular person, I think that's their way of saying they need somebody to talk to. Yep. So I think that's definitely important. What do we got here, Wolf?
Jazz asks, do you plan on having dance therapy sessions in the future?
Absolutely. I have one next Saturday.
Come on, next Saturday.
Which is the 16th, I believe.
Yes.
So that's next Saturday, the 16th at Soul Asylum Studios Laboratory. It's in Chamblee. If you visit my website, www.uncoveryourbeauty.com, tap on the events tab, you'll actually see two different events on there, one for Saturday and then one for my 10-year anniversary class. So yeah, it's a bunch of information on there. Absolutely.
Love it. All right. So we didn't get to the games today, but we're going to try to get to the games next week. But what I will say is that we have had an amazing time. Yeah. We've had an amazing time. You guys have been amazing. Thank you for interacting. And what I will say is I will go into the comments. We'll both go into the comments for the episode and try to answer additional questions that we didn't get to, because we do want to continue this conversation. So before we go, we want to go ahead and just wrap things up and kind of just hopefully this encourages someone to go try therapy. Y'all, it's not as scary as you think it is. And it's only as scary as you make it. So I definitely would say give it a try. Different types of therapy, because the laying on the couch thing may not be for you, but there's gonna be other ways. So I definitely want to do that. So one thing that I want us to do at the dive bar is strive to be different. What's that? Report.
Also, check with your job to see if you have EAP, Employee Assistance Program. You may be able to be eligible for free therapy sessions. Typically, you might get 6 a year, but there's a caveat to that. If you have one issue, you get your 6, but if you have another issue, you get another 6.
Come on, fresh 6.
Come on now.
Okay,
come on now.
So check with your job. There are resources all around us. Yeah. So definitely check those out. So we have what I call a strive to thrive kind of thing going on. And I'm going to give you guys a challenge each week. I challenge you to start journaling. That is one of my favorite things to do. If yours is a book or if it's a poster, think of it kind of like a vision board. I want you to create one. And if you start and you want to share it with us, DM us, follow us on Instagram, Dilyn's Dive Bar, and send us pictures, send us your stories. We definitely want to hear it. Jenaiya, Uncover Your Beauty, I'm sure she would love to hear the things that you're doing with your journaling and your vision boards. We want everyone to start closing those chapters that really need to be closed, because I think sometimes we leave those chapters open too long. So we want to close those chapters, start new chapters, start looking forward to the future. And I think healing from the past is a great way to start looking forward toward the future. It is, but it's worth it.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys, like, I'm not going to shoot you no bull crap. Therapy it's hard because you have to visit places that you have buried. You have to visit, sometimes if you are that person to break those generational curses, like, you have to go back there. And I've done it, y'all. And I still have days where I'm in the shower crying.
Yes.
And it's not even a thing of me crying because of life and it being so hard. For one, it's me being grateful and thankful that God has placed this upon me. And it is very, very hard. And you have to go back to some really dark places. But y'all, the other side of it, the other side of it is so beautiful, because you show up different to your friends, your family, your co-workers, yourself. It's so beautiful and it's so worth it. It is so worth it. And those that are attached to you, they get pieces of that. And it opens them up to want to go to therapy as well.
I love it. Yeah. So we will be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. We are going to be talking with Miss Shanita Trotty. She is the owner of the Pink Closet, which is a boutique for plus size curvaceous goddesses. And we're going to be talking about body image.
Oh, I love that.
And having a positive body image and ways to combat negative thoughts about your body. So come back to us next week, 9:30. The bar will be open, and it's going to be a whole nother cocktail. So look out for us on IG. If you're not following us, follow us. Shout out to iAmWoe Media Group. Shout out to Black with No Chaser Radio. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We're everywhere. Get into it, guys. Remember, you were designed to thrive. So stick to the plan. And have a great evening.
Bye.